All right, KISS Army, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope you're doing you damage. This is a KISS-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy.
Welcome to episode 449 of the KissFAQ podcast. I'm your host, live from London. It's Thursday night, so I'm near London this week, sitting in a hotel room. And if my voice sounds croaky, I'm doing way too much talking, or I got sick on the plane, one of the two. So this week, staying up late or not staying up late. Oh, Daniel, what time is it for you? It's like 2 o'clock in the morning?
1 o'clock.
Yeah, hardcore KISS fans, and then the rest of this lot. Lonnie, St. Louis KISS.
It's 6 in the evening here. It's great.
Yeah, dinner time. Yeah, you gonna have some meatloaf tonight?
Maybe. I don't know what she's doing.
Marcus Almighty, Mark.
Hello, and it's 7 p.m. here.
And so we're a real international crew today. I'm from California. How's the atmospheric river, Ken?
It's bad. Part of my fence blew down.
It's bad.
Oh, no.
It's bad, man. Crazy rain.
Yeah, I only just managed to get out of San Francisco before the storms hit the other day. And, you know, my incoming plane was 2.5 hours late landing. And they flipped that sucker around, and we were only 40 minutes late taking off and landed 5 minutes late. So hoorah to the United crew and ground staff for getting us out on time, because that was really nice to see. All right, anyone got any KISS stuff this week?
No.
Man, are you guys even fans? What's wrong with you?
Nothing new that's good and exciting. Nothing new coming.
You know, I haven't found any record stores yet. I'm outside of London in a place called Corsham. I ran into Wales today, as I mentioned before we went on the air, to pick up my sister. I haven't been to a record store. But when I picked up my car at Heathrow, I came onto the motorway, and the first vehicle I was behind was a We Buy Record Collections van. I'm like, I better follow that fucker home and rob him or something.
Yeah.
Probably be all that Brit pop, and it'd probably be full of Oasis records, and fuck that.
Yeah.
But I do want to try and find some stuff. Did see a couple of places the last time I was out this way in Trowbridge, which looked like it had a record place at a market, because those are the places where we used to find some really cool stuff. So I want to say hello to everyone who's joined us this week live. Like we've mentioned before, we're going to do more of these episodes just because I've become lazy. This is the first show of our 9th season, which just go figure, Daniel. I mean, not 9 years. I mean, there's a lot of KISS podcasts that have been going a long time. Podkiss obviously sets a standard as one of the first ones. KISS Room's been going forever. Ages of Rock has been going forever. Three Sides have been going forever. Yeah, and there's other ones as well. So forgive me for not calling your shows out. It's just amazing to consider as we go into 2023, we still get together on a weekly basis from all over the world today to talk about KISS. And all you guys out there, Robert Dunning, Bill Phelps, Brent Milhouse, Angelo Luchetta, joining us as well, as I'm sure you do, hopefully other podcasts. So Daniel, you were there on the first episode. What do you feel? I mean, this is like a CNN reporter. Tell me, what do you feel going into this many years of doing this shit?
Well, it sure doesn't feel like 9 years to me, but I guess it is. I think what's unique about our podcast is that we've been so frequent with episodes. You know, most old podcasts, they release an episode a month or two a month, but we're pretty. We release at least one a week. I think we have slightly higher average than one a week if you look all through the years. Sometimes we release two episodes, so that's kind of mind-boggling that we've been able to do that. But it's much because of you guys. I'm not able to make it all the time, but the four of you have done quite a few episodes. If you would put all the episodes that Julian did and count how many hours he's been sitting here talking Kiss, you'd be kind of scared. But it's a good time. It's a good time. I think everyone seems to enjoy it. So why stop? Let's continue. And today we're going to have a look back on 2022 and maybe talk a bit about even earlier episodes. So I think it will be kind of fun.
Well, who joined
Yes.
next? I mean, you're on the first episode. Who was next up? I mean,
I think I did episode 2 or 3.
yeah. I mean, what do you feel looking back? I mean, all those years that you've gone into your Kiss cave or your Bengals cave, and told your wife, "I got to go to work now." You know,
Right. It's funny because when you were recruiting people you had pinned something at the top of the board that you were going to do this, and I think the first episode was Julian, Daniel, and I think Nigel might have been on that first episode with you guys as well. I was thinking about doing it, and actually I had interviewed or I'd auditioned with Three Sides earlier in 2014 and didn't get that because they went with Mark, and Mark's been really good on that show. And so kudos to them. They do a great job. But at the same time, I was disappointed I didn't get it. They only did 2 auditions with me, and they did another guy from Arizona, and they ended up going with Mark, and that's fine, and it's great. But I was really disappointed because I was really looking forward to it because I really had enjoyed listening to Three Sides and become just appointment type stuff for me every week. And come November, December, I looked at my wife and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll start my own Kiss podcast. I didn't get that, but maybe I'll start my own. And she kind of rolled her eyes at me like, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know, but I'm thinking about doing it. And then I saw that on the board that Julian was starting this up. And I was like, well, maybe I'll give that a try. But I was a little intimidated because I'd never talked to Julian before. I knew of Julian. I had several of his books, but I was intimidated by Julian. Like that guy, I think I know a lot about Kiss, but Julian knows a hell of a lot more about Kiss than I do. But
Wait,
I've thoroughly enjoyed
this is a Kiss podcast? Oh shit.
but I've thoroughly enjoyed it and getting together with you guys every week and just bullshitting about whatever topic we want to talk about, or if we're just picking things at random off the board. And it, Julian sent us an episode listing of like the most popular episodes for the year, and it kind of blew me away a little bit because we see how many people listen to it watch it on YouTube every week. But when you look at it combined with how many people listen to it on YouTube and then the audio downloads as well, I was like, wow, more people listen to this show than I really thought. So, because people listen to this show and watch it, we're going to keep doing it because, we love getting together with each other and we love interacting with everyone who comments each and every week.
Yeah, and what was it someone posted on the FAQ message board? Julian only does it to pimp his poorly written books.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, other than that, I do like to occasionally talk about it.
Other than that, of course.
You've been here for a long time as well. What keeps you going, especially when you do other podcasts as well? I mean, because you've got the S gig going, you've got your Project Gemini stuff going, and all the other things that you have in your life. What keeps you coming back?
Well, I mean, I consider you guys good friends, pretty much family at this point. I mean, we've been hanging out so much. I've probably hung out more with you guys than I have with some of my own family members, to be honest. So that's kind of a big thing too. I mean, and I also enjoy Kiss. Obviously, that has to be a big thing as well. I mean, I wouldn't be here for this many episodes if it wasn't for the fact that I liked the band and the music that was, being done by them. But I was trying to look just now online, and I think I started in like episode 30 some odd or something. I know it was I think it was a Dress to Kill, one of the first Dress to Kill episodes, album ones that you guys did. I came on then. And it's funny because the one thing that I've noticed about this is that I came in with my kind of opinions on, like I like Bruce Kulick. He was my favorite member of the band at that time, and he still is. But I remember the first time I mentioned my hatred for Bob Ezrin way back, in the podcast, and it has stuck throughout all these episodes, and it's one of the things that people kind of associate with me. Yeah, there you go. New face, Mark. That people associate with me is that Mark is the guy that dislikes Bob Ezrin. So it's interesting what people remember, what the people that are on the podcast, But I enjoy it. I really enjoy coming on here and talking every week and hanging out with you guys.
Well, thanks for joining us for all these years. Ken, what about you? And I don't know if Daniel was able to Google quickly to see when you joined, but do you remember when it was?
I was somewhere around, I want to say somewhere around episode 10 or something like that. I'm guessing.
Yeah,
kind of edged my way in or something. So, I think the thing is I knew Julian's had started it up, and I was like, I have nobody to talk to about KISS. It's KISS the band and just the history and all that kind of stuff. I was like, I had no close friends that were into KISS or anything like that. So I was like, so I'm talking to myself, as I usually do, about KISS. But so I told Julian, I said, well, I've kind of been there since almost the beginning, 77. And I said, I have a lot of, history with them and some stories and that sort of stuff. So, he let me on, and it's been a great experience, meeting you guys and the other guys that have popped up on our episodes here and there as part of this KissFAQ, family. So yeah, I guess it wasn't really an audition. I guess I just kind of stuck, and then one day Julian called me the voice of reason, and that kind of stuck. So
I don't think it was me. I don't think it was me who gave you that name.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe someone else said it.
I think it was the audience, and someone's
going to it might have been. It might be true. Yeah. So
I'm not that creative. I mean, if I'd called you the voice of reason, it would have had a typo in it.
There it is. What's episode?
10.
Wait a minute. I was 10. Okay. All right. I was right then. Okay. It was somewhere around there. So yes, a different look. I was much younger then. But it's been a real fun thing, and like you guys were saying about the episodes, or Lonnie was saying, it's pretty amazing how many people actually. I mean, it's not the 1 million strong KISS army or anything like that, but it's a little chunk, and it's probably more than I thought would be watching it. I'm sure they want to talk about it, like we do. I mean, maybe they have nobody to talk to, kind of the way I was, and this interacting with or watching us or listening to us on the podcast, they kind of become part of the family, of our family, for this podcast. So it's a good time.
There's a nice shout out to Andy Moyen. Yep, Andy is wicked awesome. Very cool guy. And, the number of people that I've met as a result of doing this. I mean, this episode isn't a circle jerk or anything, just to talk about ourselves. Daniel came up with the idea of, what were the most popular episodes last year? What were the most popular episodes of all time? We're not measuring ourselves against any other podcasts. We get together each week to do this because we want to get together each week and do this. So other shows get more viewers, fantastic. I think we're all viewers and listeners of other shows on occasion, more regularly. It's not about competing with anyone, not interested in that. Everyone brings something to the table, whether they're a podcast thinking about getting going, a podcast that has been going, or whatever, so it's just part of having a conversation and talking to KISS, because my wife ain't talking to me about KISS other than, are you still listening to that crap?
Pretty much.
Or are you
Would
still paying
please-
for that crap?
Yeah.
Would you please go out and play in traffic now?
How many
You know,
how many copies of Alive do we need in this house?
yes, you're not buying that shit. Just knock it off.
It's actually been the other way around for me, because my girlfriend, she was kind of against Kiss the first 5 years or so, but since then she's been to, I think, 3 Kiss shows, and when you see them live, you kind of get what it's all about.
That didn't work for me.
She's
She's been the multiple. She's been the multiple shows.
Lonnie
Last
tried
time we
it.
were at a show together, she sat down in the middle of it.
Oh
You-
my lord!
You dragged your poor wife to
To
the
Vegas.
National Rockin' Pod
That's
that's
true.
coming up. You know, no, Becky has been there and suffered for your art.
She has. She's a good
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So again, thanks everyone for joining us. Let's get into some of these topics. And again, these are all Daniel's. I mean, when we look at last year's top 10 list, I'm just going to go down the list, I think, and let you guys know what were the top 10 episodes from 2022. So here we go. In 10th place, with an astonishing 6,803 listens, was Vinny a guitar solo butcher, which is surprising. I didn't think that episode would make it. This one certainly surprises me. In 9th place, Rockologist Peter Criss reissues. That's when we had Tom Shannon on to talk about the reissues of Out of Control and Let Me Rock You, which were coming out. So had a good, healthy number of viewers. And then we get into a whole bunch of Guess Who. The end is looming. Is it over? Creatures box set review clearly had a lot of viewers because, come on, it's a review. A lot of people wouldn't have had it. Your Very Best of Kiss. That one does surprise me because I don't think list shows are going to be that kind of interesting. But there's one that had, well, how many did it have? 8,245
Yeah.
combined.
That was my top.
Creatures.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
It
and
was.
a lot of
Look
this
at
stuff
you.
makes it-
Wow.
That's mine.
Gotta have one.
Okay, so that makes it easier. So next comes Creatures Gets Betrayed.
Betrayed,
Now that
yeah.
episode,
More
that was when the
Creatures.
Betrayed single had dropped,
Mhm.
and it was some new music finally from Kiss.
Mhm.
And then Kiss Springs a Leak. Again, leak related.
Yeah.
The Ank Guitar Wank on a Tank.
That's a good
Creatures
title.
Fest, of which none of us had gone to, so that was hilarious for that one. And then obviously the Yacht Rock, Quitters, and More. I don't know why that got so many viewers. I can't even remember that episode because that's ancient in this list. That's episode 392.
I have to go back and listen to that one.
That's
Yeah.
nearly the beginning of the year. So I guess that was one that really solidly performed. And then obviously an episode that I don't think I was on
Yeah.
is a clear winner with 9,800. Sam Loomis for president. So all you guys were on the Sam Loomis episode, weren't you? You know,
Yeah.
are you surprised that was the top episode of last year? Daniel?
What do you want me to say? Too bad you couldn't be there. Too bad you couldn't be with us, because that was
No.
that was a period that was kind of interesting, because there was a buzz going around in the Kiss community, and you could feel it even when we did the podcast that people were more interested, more into it, commented more. So we had I think three or maybe 3 episodes in a row there that were viewed by a lot of people, and I had no idea how many who listened to the shows. What's interesting is the second one there, Yacht, whatever it was called.
Yacht Rock.
Yeah.
Quitters.
I don't know
Quitters.
I don't know what that is, but
Who's
Ken
the
pointed
quitter?
out it had very few views on YouTube. It was nowhere near the top 10 on YouTube, but on other platforms it had the most listens. So I don't
Yacht
know
Rock.
what that's all about. Yacht Rock. Okay, that's the one. But mostly we get more views on YouTube when we talk about something current, of course. So the episodes concerning Stan Loomis got a lot of views, and Vinnie Vincent when he did his thing on the tank there, and also the Creatures box set, of course, got quite a few views. But there are some episodes there in the top 10 that I don't know why they're there. So it's kind of interesting. One of my favorites are there. The one about I mentioned it last week. What was it called? It was called. No, maybe it didn't make the top 10. The one about the greatest Kiss song. Yeah, there it is. Your very best of
Yes,
Kiss.
yeah.
Actually ended up in 6th place. I think that was kind of cool because I think that was a good episode.
Yeah, and that list is the top 22 of 2022. The Sam Loomis ones, again, I've said I chose not to participate in those because I just didn't want to be connected with that shit show. You know, I'd been offered the drive a couple years ago, and I turned it down. I wasn't willing to pay the sort of money that it was being offered, so I don't want to be associated with that leak. So I just decided not to participate in those episodes. And anyway, I was enjoying those leaks as much as anyone watching them because I hadn't seen that stuff. But again, I got tired of the Loomis stuff very quickly. Lonnie, what's some of your favorite of those episodes last year? And are you surprised that one in particular was most viewed?
Yeah, it's not surprising that like the Kiss brings a leak and Sam Loomis for president and Is the End Looming, that those ended up where they did. That was a fun and exciting time to be a Kiss fan those few weeks. You'd wake up in the morning and you hoped that you would get something, and a lot of the time you would those few weeks, and sometimes it'd be, oh, that's kind of cool, and other times it just might blow your mind, like, holy crap, I can't believe I'm even watching this. And those were fun, and it spiked interest in the band. And then shortly after that, the Creature stuff, the Creatures list of what was going to be on there came out. So I think there was a spike of Kiss and popularity on the internet around that time. Thus, our show was getting more views around that time. Let's call it what it is, basically. So it doesn't surprise me that those are where they're at. The Rockologist thing with Peter reissues, that's kind of interesting that that's as high as it is. I mean, as much as I like those Peter Criss solo albums, it's not like they were multi-platinum discs that people took that much of an interest in it over some of the other episodes that we did. So, and Vinny, whenever we mention Vinny seems to spike up the ratings as well. So if we ever talk about about an 18-month period in the band, the audience is definitely listening.
I mean, it seems like there's a pattern though when you think about it with some of these ones, because anything that has something controversial attached to it seems to be the ones that had a lot of views to it. Because I mean, the Loomis thing obviously had its controversy for its obvious reasons, because there was leak. It was a leak of stuff, right? And I have to say, I think that for sure, I don't think I was as excited as I was at that time in a very long time for Kiss stuff when that started coming out. I mean, I can't remember the last time I was looking on a Kiss site on a daily basis until that started happening. So, I think that kind of feeling spread amongst the Kiss community. And then, you mentioned the Peter Criss albums there. I mean, I think the reason why that was a big viewing thing too is because there was a tinge of controversy with that about Peter Criss rejecting those things, saying that they weren't official releases. People probably wanted to know what his view was on that and what the story was on that. So a lot of people watched that, right, to hear his opinion. So there seems to be that kind of attachment to the ones that do very well. There's always something to it. I mean, the Creatures box set obviously was a big release, so of course people are going to be watching that, right? So I'm not too surprised. And Vinny, of course, you just mentioned Vinny Vincent on a Kiss podcast, and there's already controversy. So I'm not surprised that those top 10 ones are the ones that they are, because just of those reasons.
What I think is kind of interesting is that Carnival of Souls ended up in 12th place. I mean, one of the most unpopular albums of all time when it comes to Kiss. And it's been talked about previously, but that made it all the way to the 12th position. I think that was kind of cool. It was a good episode, however. So I think it was a good episode, but it surprised me.
Probably because we don't talk a lot about carnival souls. Yeah, I don't think we've done a lot on that one, and that's probably one of the reasons. Though I do agree with Mark. The controversy sells, so the controversial ones are up there. The excitement though around either the Loomis stuff was kind of very exciting, and the board was going crazy. Um, I'm sure Julian was having to really keep on top of that when that was
I had
booming
to
at the time.
ban people over that. How
Yeah.
stupid is that?
Exactly.
How
Every
unusual
day
is
people
that?
were, begging for an eyeful, but only getting a peek sometimes with the video clips. But people too quickly got fixated on who the leaker was rather than who the source was, to my way of thinking. And they started throwing around all sorts of stupid, absolutely stupid conspiracy theories. So that ruined everything. And I've said that before. That ruined a lot of it for me because I was having to deal with that in the background. And then on the boards, I have people just coming up with ludicrous things, anonymous people. They pulled this shit the other day in a magic thread as well. Just went off the reservation and started coming up with all sorts of trash. You think because you're anonymous on the internet that you can say anything that you want without consequences? Well,
Absolutely.
in many cases you can. In many cases you can, but if you piss me off on the message board and I let it go, I let the conversation go as far as I feel comfortable with, and I do miss stuff because I generally don't read the board entirely, I will ban you. And people can come back, and it's just pathetic. It was one day you'd get Largo, another day you'd get some other show, Asylum Pro Shot, and people are like, who is Sam Loomis? Who fucking cares? Watch the goddamn video and enjoy it.
Oh, yeah.
Don't worry about who Sam Loomis is in the singular or the plural. Just enjoy it for what it is. So, and no one's an investigative journalist in the KISS community. It became very pompous. And, for supposedly being anti-elitist, it became pretty elite pretty quick in certain groups. Sorry, Ken, back to you.
No, thanks for interjecting about that comment. So, but otherwise, the new music is a big deal. New music, and lots of times when you review something or an anniversary or something, like a little bit lower was the extreme close up.
Dubai.
Well, yeah, that was part of the 5Ds.
Paul's looking into it, Ken. You should feel better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 5Ds.
That means get the hell away from me.
The one that's called the 5Ds was Dubai, Disclosures, Donington, Des Moines, and Dumbasses. Was the 5D. So that was a good one. We did, but yeah, it's amazing we're able to come up with these different subjects. I mean, I'm sure we rehash things a lot too, but it's try to keep it interesting at least.
I think it was kind of cool as a listener. I truly enjoyed was Vinny a guitar solo butcher, because I think it was fascinating that Julian went out and did a whole lot of prepping for that show. That was excellent. I really enjoyed that. So just so you know that
that wasn't my idea.
No, I know
Tim,
that, but you
Tim
did.
posted the comments, and I'm like, and I was reading the Vinnie Vincent forums the other day, and a lot of people are under the impression that I hate Vinnie Vincent. Nothing could be further from the truth. I don't hate Vinnie. So I wanted to do that episode and do the extra effort that it took to come up with the multimedia. And again, very soon we will do the next edition of that, which will be to compare the end of, or maybe not the end of the Lick It Up tour, depends what soundboards I can find good sources for all the songs for us to compare, and do one for Lick It Up, because I also want to do it for other guitarists in the band. Bruce, which to me, I want to see how these guitarists interpreted, especially from a lot of our non-musical vocabulary. So that's going to be something that we do this year, along with continuing with death matches. And someone did say on the comments that they were disappointed that no death matches. Bill Phelps, thank you for your comments on that. Made the list. Yeah, death matches are kind of interesting in that they're not your everyday sort of episodes. Mark, are there any kind of episodes from last year that you were shocked didn't make the top 22, that you thought, really, why is that not there? Why didn't it resonate with viewers or listeners?
Not really. I mean, I think that the ones that did appear, I was kind of expecting to appear. But I have to admit, though, I'm also surprised that some of the deathmatch ones didn't view higher. Mainly because I would have thought that maybe the first one would have, because it was a new topic, and usually when you have a new kind of thing like that that you're going to do, there's interest in it right away to see how it goes, right? But other than that, I don't think there was anything that I didn't expect to show up on there. I mean, everything that's on this list is pretty much what I expected. There's nothing that comes to mind, at least to me, that I'm surprised is not on the list. I mean, maybe if you guys mention something, maybe it'll joggle my memory, but I don't think that there is.
Well, Lonnie, anything that you thought should have had more viewers or listeners? Wow, weird lighting.
Not necessarily. I'm kind of with Mark that I understand the Vinny stuff and the Luma stuff being ranked up near the top. I am surprised that some of the death matches aren't on there. I think I have a good time doing those with you guys, because it kind of showcases different KISS fans' thoughts and perspective on and just a random topic of a song versus a song, how one of us can have a strong opinion one way and another of us can have a strong opinion another way. And a lot of times, depending on the matchup, it's unanimous. Well, that's a slam dunk pick. But sometimes they're difficult, and I enjoy doing those with you guys personally, because I enjoy each one of your perspectives, and it's fun doing it with an odd number with all five of us to make it come down to a deciding vote like that. And I think those are fun. I think people who aren't listening to them, if you're watching this, should go back and give them a try.
Yeah, and that's what I do hear from quite a few people, that they've just discovered the show and they're going back through, or they've soured on another show and are giving us a spin for the first time. It's always great for those sorts of things to happen. Daniel, what about you on that?
I'm not surprised, but I do miss a few shows that I think they were great. And I mostly like Lonnie. I enjoy kind of the lighthearted, the episodes that are kind of lighthearted, lots of laughs, but still a lot of KISS information, and maybe a bit more personal episodes. When we come up with our own views and our own takes, and we get different views on things. One episode that I thought was really good was this one. At least it was really fun. It's called the burning dumpster of merch, or something like that. Episode 398. I thought that was hilarious. I thought we had a great time.
Yeah, it was fun.
We got to see some things from Lonnie's personal collection. It was equally hilarious to see.
I pulled out the crappiest stuff I own. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I thought it was kind of a more personal, a bit. It stuck out a bit for me. I think that was a great one, and of course I enjoy the KISS quizzes that we've done. There's a lot of prepping to do them, but I truly enjoy doing them with you guys, and I'm hoping we can do at least one or two more in the future. I enjoy doing.
Here's a question on that, because you did a KISS quiz with the Destroyer crew in Swedish. Who won? Who held the title? Now that's been up for a while.
There was a new champion. He's called Magnus. He's not that fond of speaking English, so he's kind of he's nowhere near any English speaking podcast. But he managed. It came down to the last question, and he beat Nils. The Norwegian that we've had on the show. So he beat him with 1 point. So it was a close one.
Everyone's out to defeat Nils, because he's fast on the buzzer. He's very knowledgeable.
He's
Yeah, he's a good guy as well, which is even better. Nothing like winning or losing to someone who you respect.
Mhm.
So the last one we did was this one, 408, and it was focused on the revenge era. So if you guys out there want to go and test your knowledge about that period, go to episode 408. There are timestamps as well in the episode, so you can jump ahead if you need to find a certain question or so. So that's a tip from me.
Yeah, so you also asked, and I guess this episode is really about Daniel's questions, because I never look at how many people view our episodes on a week-to-week basis, because once I've recorded an episode with you guys, I'm sedate. I'm like, cool, got together with the guys, did our episode, so I don't go back and see if anyone actually also watched it. But looking back over the history of our show, it's not easy for me to do metrics on the audio because I host that myself and my logs get overwritten on the web server, but I can do it on YouTube. So as of the time that I compiled the list, our YouTube episodes have been viewed nearly 650,000 times, which to me is just staggering. And that doesn't get into how long of an episode someone has watched. If they click play, got through the intro music and saw my face and said, forget it, it's counted. There's just the average watch time you can see. But I also don't follow up because I do know people come back and watch in segments. So that's less interesting to me. Let's go into some of the top all-time YouTube ones. Danny, you okay for me to move on? Just making sure since it's your episode.
Move on.
Okay.
There you go.
Which actually, talking about that, who saw Peter Criss singing "Dirty Living" this week? He got behind the mic just for some fun, and then everyone picked it apart on the FAQ. For fuck's sake.
Of course. Jeez.
What do you guys think of that? Does Peter still got it to you? You want to hear more?
I think his vocals are there. Okay vocals. So I'd like to hear him do some of the old stuff. He's just standing there with a mic and singing along to the record, it seems. If he really got into the studio and kind of re-recorded or did something, I don't think he'll come up with any new music. I mean, that last album he did, One for All, or what was it called? One that one. One for All. It wasn't that good. I think it was his absolute worst album. So I don't think he's into doing new songs, but re-recording some stuff, maybe recording them in a more jazzy feel or something, a bluesy feel or something, and re-record them, because I enjoy his vocals still to this day. Yeah,
he still sounds good. What do you think, Lonnie?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun just to hear something from him, and to hear "Dirty Living," which I thought was a great choice as well. That it wasn't "Hard Luck Woman" or it wasn't Beth or something like that. Something expected. "Dirty Living," it's a little bit of a reach into the catalog. So I thought it was fun, and it's great to hear from him. We don't hear from him very often. He does a signing or two here or there, but he's really turned into a private person, and he's retired. Good for him. And if he wants to do something, he does it. And I thought it was a great treat that he treated us with that little video. I thought it was fun, and we look forward to having more of them in the future.
Yeah, what I liked about it is it didn't come prefaced with a big announcement coming tomorrow. It didn't come with a big
announcement tomorrow. There's a sale on the website. It didn't come with buy something. It didn't come with something for sale. It was just, here's something fun for everyone to enjoy. That actually did have a reason, which you can just hear part of in there. But Daniel nailed it. I would love new music from Peter, because I do like songs on One for All, and I'm not going to be ashamed to say that. But I would love new music from Peter Criss. But I would also love, I've said it before, after going to the cutting room and hearing Strutter reinterpreted with some brass, I would love him to
imagine some Kiss songs his way, especially taking that sort of Aerosmith, Get Your Wings, early 70s approach to the music. What would the original Kiss songs sound like if Jack Douglas had been producing, and throwing some horns on there? What would Beth sound like if Bob Ezrin wasn't producing it? Well, it wouldn't exist because he helped, I guess, really refine it. But have Peter was sing it the original way. I would love it. Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, you got to remember that when you're doing those kind of performances in a house, it's not exactly ideal acoustical surroundings to do it. I mean, you have all kinds of echoes if it's a big room and stuff like that. It may not sound, as good as it could if he had it in a proper studio environment, right? But his singing was fine. I thought that he sang pretty good. I mean, the one thing about Peter that I've always kind of wondered about is that there was always this long-running rumor that Peter had done and recorded a rock record that was supposed to come out. I kept hearing about that for years, that he had one done and that was supposed to come out, and it just seems that it disappeared off the face of the planet, this recording that he did. I mean, I wonder if he actually did do it, and will we ever hear it? Like, will it eventually leak somehow, or will he put it out? I mean, everybody says, and I agree with this, that he has such a great raspy voice that fits rock music so well. If he did do a rock album, I think it would be great to hear it, because I mean, in the studio, you know how it is. In the studio, you can make things, polished up, but you can polish them up a bit. You can do it as many times as you need till you're happy with it. So, and Peter's a good singer, so it wouldn't need to be overly done to make it sound half decent. Just get some decent songs behind it and let him sing it. And I think that he still has something to offer, I think.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Ken?
Yeah. I saw it, and I was happy to see it. I think it's great that he's having a good time and sharing it with the Kiss fans, and it's 43 years later from the original. I mean, his voice is not going to be exactly the same as 43 years ago, but it wasn't bad. It was fine. I'd love for him though, to put out some music. Even if he does re-records, like Julian's saying, putting horns on stuff, doing Hooligan, doing a slow, slowing it down or something and making it more of a bar kind of song, just change it up, do those kinds of things. It would be a cool thing. And I'm sure his voice is perfectly fine. And I love to hear it though, when he's screaming, the rock and roll kind of screaming Peter Criss. That's when he's at his best.
Yeah. So let's move on. Now, I just want to go through the top 10 list of all-time YouTube episodes. And so this is strictly by YouTube viewing numbers. In 10th place, the Kiss Alive Forever ebook. It only has 3,700 views on YouTube. So then The Gloves Come Off. I remember that. Sam Loomis for president again. Why Star Child? Why Las Vegas Vault 2 with special guest Paul Stanley? That's just footage of the Q&A music session that I shot at that vault. The End of the Road Vancouver, obviously the first show of the End of the Row. We immediately after the show, I think it was, did an episode, Vinnie Vincent's Birthday Bash. That was back when the Vinnie Vincent events were kind of all new. Mike's Lies and Videotape. Yeah, I wonder if that had anything to do with lip syncing or backing tapes.
February of 19, most likely.
Ken's favorite episode? Bye. New Year's Eve live reaction videos. Right. So I think we had more people watching that than actually paid for the stream. Wow. And then our top episode on YouTube is the candid conversation with Bob Kulick. Which obviously that came at a tough time, so it did have a bit of, I guess, tabloid associated with it because he was venting and hurting. But it was also one of the last interviews he ever did. So, we do again appreciate it. Danny, you've got a list of, some of our regulars, people who comment on a lot of our episodes, and we love featuring all these comments that we get live. But on the regular YouTube episodes, there have been a lot of people who take time to tell me that I suck, to tell Mark that he's wrong, to tell Lonnie go Bengals, or usually go some other team. But how did you approach your list, Daniel, and what you got?
There's hundreds and hundreds of comments. I didn't have the time to go through them, so I just looked
How dare you?
I looked for reoccurring names, and I see a few here in the comments today. For example, Halface. He's been with us for some time, and he was actually competing with you guys on the last Kiss quiz, if you remember. He joined and competed a bit, so that was kind of cool. We did it live, so my hat off goes off for that guy. But some of the others, a guy called Strutter72, he posts a lot of comments, and we truly appreciate it. He seems like a Vinnie Vincent fan. And he always ends with great episode, guys. So that's always nice to hear. Mike Burke is another Vinnie Vincent fan. He seems to like Vinnie a whole lot, and he actually was front row in New Orleans in '83. He wrote in one of his comments, so that's kind of cool. Like Ken over here.
He's hoarding the pro shot.
Maybe. And Anthony X, Lick It Up fan, who writes a lot, and Aaron Philpott. I think you might have seen him. He's like head of Kiss Army Australia or something.
Yeah,
he has really long posts and thoughtful posts. Same goes for Gary M. Really long posts, long comments. And Mick E.G. seems like a sound guy. He posts long comments, so we do appreciate that. But maybe some of the most long time, or how do you say, viewers that have been with us for the longest amount of time, I think Wolf of Nature is one of them, and he is a very frequent poster and has been for years. I got a question from one of the listeners about why don't you guys do an episode about the symphony, and so I had to tell him that we already done that, and I went to that episode, and then I saw Wolf of Nature. He had commented on that one, and that was like 3-4 years back. So yeah, he must have seen quite a few episodes, and there's a lot more. AB. He's just called AB. He seemed to appreciate Mark's comments a lot. He always say nice things about Mark. So you got a fan over there. Oh, maybe it's you it's your alias.
It's me under another account.
Yeah. Tin Wasp, another one. He wrote about when he attended the Lick It Up tour. That was kind of cool to read. And the nicest, friendliest listener we have, I think, is a guy called Jason Leonard. He writes really nice things all the time, so that's greatly appreciated. We also have Bruce Kulick fans. The biggest one might be Titania Bell, who writes a lot, and there's also some jokesters, people that tell jokes in the comments. And the biggest one, I think, is Charles Bronson.
Yes.
Yeah. So he tells a lot of jokes, and even put in timestamps to certain places in the episode. So that's kind of cool. Andrew Johnson, like Lonnie, a Revenge era guy. And there's loads more. I'm sure I've forgotten quite a few of you, but we do appreciate it and keep them coming.
Actually, how do I hide that? Yeah. So you also asked, which countries consume the FAQ the most, and that's the podcast, not the board, because the board seems to be mostly VPN bots. United States, clearly. Our top list reviewing countries that can be kind of verified are USA, Germany, Brazil, Canada, Sweden, Great Britain, Australia, Chile, Greece, Belgium, Finland, France, Norway, and Netherlands. Those are our community is primarily that demographic. You also asked the old episodes that still get views, and this was really shocking when I went
120.
through the data. Is in 2022 443 of our episodes had views. I mean, that's just nuts. I mean, that's like a back catalog is just being, and now you get an email from someone who said, well, in episode, 123, you said such and such. Now you're saying something different.
Keeping you honest. Keep you honest. Opinions change,
Mark,
Yeah,
opinions change, and we do these shows live, so it's very much in the moment of what we think. But Mark, you've got some real people who seem to enjoy you. I mean, how do you feel about that interaction? And
I like it. I mean, it's cool. I mean, I understand some people are just like jabbing and doing little jokes, and I take it with a grain of salt, of course, because being in band for years and doing stuff like that, you got to get used to that, right? So can we nice.
It's our favorite commenter.
Yeah, I don't mind. I enjoy it. I mean, I like the interaction with the people, and I mean, sometimes when I'm on here and I say certain things, I can already imagine what's going to be in the message, area after the episode goes up, because I'm one of these people that don't kind of hold back my opinions on stuff, which is probably a good and a bad thing. But
you're a KISS fan.
Yeah. So so I don't mind. I mean, and I enjoy the people that are, leaving comments about me and saying nice things or bad things. I mean, as long as people are listening, that's the main thing, and I'm happy that they're enjoying the episodes.
Yeah, that was Reservoir Dogs, which I've never actually watched. that reference in that quote. Again, I didn't want to host. I didn't want to be on a podcast. I've mentioned how Mike approached me after Mitch left Three Sides, asking me to guest host for an episode, and I turned him down. That's where that whole thing of me not appearing on Three Sides kind of came from. And it wasn't because I didn't like those guys. It was that I didn't want to do this, or didn't think I wanted to do it, because here I am all these years. I look forward to every week, hopefully sticking a quarter in Lonnie, because when Lonnie lets loose, it's just an element of nature, because he's getting to the end of that thought and scorched earth to the sides. So you get your money's worth out of Lonnie when he goes off. Whenever Mark says Bob Ezrin, I just look forward to the comments. If anything is going to touch on, it's going to trigger someone out there, it's going to be Mark talking about Bob Ezrin. And he's not playing a role. He's just reiterating his opinion that has stayed the same through all these episodes. So, Mark doesn't get up out of bed and say, how can I insult Bob Ezrin today? And he's new material. Yeah. Mark is what he is. Ken brings, sensible. I get off track and then go a bit weird. And I think, Ken just keeps us all grounded with that real perspective of someone who was a fan in the 70s. Because, come on, a lot of us are 80s and 90s, which is kind of weird. So it's good to have that, perspective. I'm always impressed by Daniel, to be able to sit here and do an episode in English when you spend the majority of your life speaking Swedish. That always impresses me. I mean, I had to do 5 minutes speaking French once to pass a university exam, and that was all I could handle. And she really just said, I'll put you out of your misery and give you a pass, so you don't have to do this again. It was like the French cashiers in Calais, who, after I started speaking French, they switched it to English so I wouldn't murder their language. But I'm always impressed by the fans from other countries, including Americans who don't speak English natively, who are able to come on these shows. And you brought a whole bunch of Swedes with you and Scandinavians last year. and that was our longest ever episode. What do you
Oops.
like in a podcast episode? Do you like it long, or do you like it short and thick?
Jesus.
Wow.
You
Does
might-
size, so he's essentially asking you, does size matter, Daniel? Yes or no?
I do think size matters, but in this case, I think the most important thing is, like you already said, the honesty is really important. That you're able to be honest and have opinions.
Yeah.
And that's a problem when you get too deep into the KISS world. You're not allowed to really speak your mind at times, and that can really hurt a podcast if you're holding back. So I think it's important to at least have one or two guys in a podcast that can speak their mind and are not afraid of consequences, or that they might lose touch with the band. Or I see Andrew, he posts a lot here. Maybe if he's aiming at getting he would like to have a job with the KISS corporation. I mean, then he might not be able to say that, well, Gene is an asshole and Paul is a wimp. You can't say that. But if you're a guy like Mark or me or someone else, we can actually speak our mind, and I think that's the most important thing. And also to try to have a discussion flowing, speak and not. Sometimes we've done these shows that are at times we've been kind of boring. We have a topic, and I start, and then Julian, and then by Mark's turn, we have already said everything, but everyone has to speak their mind, and it kind of gets a bit slow, I think. So I'm more into, conversation type of podcast, but you can't win them all.
Well, I agree, but I think it's great that we have Julian. I mean, he is the leader of us, and he is so. I mean, you're so knowledgeable on KISS. I know you say you're not, but you are, and I'm sure it comes from your research you do for the tours and the books you've done, etc. But yeah, you're just very, very knowledgeable, and it's just great that you're able to keep us in line. You keep us in line here, and sometimes you allow us to continue the show when you don't have the time, or you're too busy, or writing a book or doing whatever, that we can take the reins and come up with something hopefully interesting and new for the episodes that you're not here.
Yeah,
I think another strength about this podcast is that we're kind of different. Ken is like the laid back,
way different
voice of reason. Mark shoots from the hip. Julian is Mr. Kiss, and Lonnie can go on his rant. So we all have this different kind of, and I think every part is equally important.
Here to rant.
Yeah, but I think every person has a quality that's needed for the episode to be dynamic. I've watched a lot of KISS podcasts, and at times they seem to be the participants get more and more alike. They think the same thing. They're afraid to disagree with each other, or maybe they've been talking for so long, so they have the same opinion. But I think it's important to have that dynamic in a podcast.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I definitely think that you add an interesting element to it as well, Daniel, because I mean, like Julian said, I mean, the fact that English is not your primary language is incredible, that you're, talking as much on here as you do. And, I think that me and you are similar in that sense too, that we don't seem to hold back our opinions on stuff, even if we know that we will not have it won't be the popular opinion when we talk about it, but hey, you know what? At least it's honest, and that's what I respect about you a lot too. I mean that you will say what you feel, whether or not people will like it or not.
And we allow you, even though you're not your band, KISS is not your favorite band, Mark. So
yeah,
we still allow you.
Well, I mean, come on.
No.
I mean, they're
one of your favorite bands, obviously.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, they're like a close. I would say overall, Kiss is like my third favorite band of all time. But still, I mean, compared to how many bands I like, that's pretty high up.
Yeah.
And I mean, look at talking about Julian in this. I mean, he is obviously the brains and the leader of this whole thing for sure. And don't shake your head because you are.
No,
because,
no,
I mean,
I
even
lift
just today.
topics from the board.
Well, look at. No, but I'm talking about your knowledge set in general.
That's
like this
smart.
morning, I woke up and I saw that you posted something about the Aerosmith book that you're doing, and I mean, I read that, and that's incredible. The stuff that you write and the things that you come up with these bands and these books that you do. I'm always amazed, and I always go back to your books and read them constantly. So I mean, you definitely have a skill set and a talent for this stuff. So never sell yourself short on that.
No, I'm going to keep this podcast going because I've got my poorly edited
He's got the
works to
books
shelf. Oh, come on, guys.
That's his angle.
No, some of the early
I
ones were, I can't look back on, so I don't take any of that personally. I do laugh about it because some of them, it's been a learning experience doing these. Each one has improved, and each, yeah. I was in the library last week in San Francisco pulling more microfilm. So I had some stuff coming from Denver and Texas, and someone had actually pointed out to me on the board. I don't have their name up right now, about the possibility that a 1979 show had not taken place. So here we are. We are still correcting stuff. I mean, it's going to affect anyone who does a book on 1973 to 83. It's not reflected correctly in Kiss Alive Forever. It's not reflected correctly in my most recent printing of Kiss on Tour because it is a continuous process, that data, to suddenly find out that Paul had laryngitis, and I think it was Midland, Texas. I can't remember, it was November the 2nd, 79 was actually canceled, and they kept trying to reschedule it, but weren't able to because of the high school basketball team needing the gym. And the local press agent had said that Denver was canceled as well, which there's I think an audio recording from it. So that's what keeps me going on the books, but also keeps me interested in talking about Kiss, because when you do think about some of that Loomis stuff that leaked, it gives us more to talk about week in and week out, and new angles with which to kind of talk about it. I mean, I don't have anything else to say. What about you guys?
But I think Viper did a cool thing here. He mentioned some of his favorite episodes. It would be cool if the listeners could, write down some of the episodes that they have enjoyed through the years. There might be a surprise or two. This Viper guy, he says, 3 of my favorite episodes were Room 101. What the hell was that?
That's where the rejects go.
Yeah, the rejects. Okay. The Atlanta Expo review and reacting to the Tom Snyder Halloween interview. Yeah.
No,
So I had forgotten about those. So it's kind of cool. So feel free to mention some of your favorite episodes. It's kind of cool to see what you liked, if you have any favorites.
Yeah, and I think we need to do a watch party. Anything come out recently that we could watch and critique and comment on?
I can't come up with anything.
Gotta wait
No.
for spinning gold, I guess.
I don't know any 1990 thing that we could.
Nothing
I can't
rises
come up.
to my mind.
No.
No. Oh well, that's a shame. I'm just gonna have to rise my heart then. All right, I guess that's it. That's just a little bit of a look back on the show this week to start off season 9. In a light manner. Next week we're gonna do our next death match. Which album is it, Daniel?
I think it's let's see now. It's Hotter Than Hell versus
Is it Animalize?
Yes, it was Animalize. So let's see if any Paul songs go through, or if Burn Bitch Burn will go through. I don't know.
Burn Bitch Burn.
Maybe we have to do
like
that on
that
a Saturday. What's the football schedule look like on Saturday, Lonnie?
Next week I'm kind of up in the air on Saturday, so I'll let you guys know on Sunday when everything plays out.
All right, we will table that one. Of course, Lonnie is a Bengals fan, and the last game went horrendously for all fans of football. Hey, you know what? They are reporting that he is talking today.
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
That is really good news for.
One of the first things he asked though was, "Did we win the game?" Right. So not only are the lights on, but someone's home upstairs too, and that's like a modern day miracle. It really is.
That's the competitor. That's the inner competitor. Did we win?
Did we win? Didn't even care about himself. Did we win?
Right. Do we win the
Did we
game?
win? Not what am I doing here? What happened?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, that's it. So if you've joined us live today, thank you again. If you're watching or listening to this later, you know where to find us. Why don't you share some of your favorite episodes, but don't just tell us the episodes. I want to know why. And we'll read your comments in the next episode. We may bump out the next death match so that we've got the usual crew in for it. So we shall wait and see. Right now, the voice of reason had to hit the restroom. So that's it for this week. So from Ken, Daniel, Lonnie, Mark, and myself, that's fine with the outro videos, so I can remember to play it this week. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.